Hey everybody, this is Matt, and today's video I have for you a ban list prediction video. So we are in the ban list season for the TCG, although the OCG is also getting a ban list very soon. The last TCG ban list we got was, I think, came into effect at the beginning of January. So it's been about 3 full months since then. So a lot of people are predicting that there will be a ban list announcement soon, but towards the end of this month, and then that ban list will come into effect in the beginning of April, right? And yeah, this ban list is going to be a very important one because we're in a tier 0 format in the TCG, which I'm sure most of you are aware of, and Konami really needs to do something about that because it's kind of tier 0 formats are awful. They're just awful. Like there's plenty of YouTubers out there who like to cope out. They're great formats, but they're really not, right? So yeah, so for those of you who've seen my ban list prediction videos in the past, I break them down in a few ways where I go over, bans, limits, semi-limits, and unlimits, right? But I do it in 2 ways where I talk about my wish list, what cards do I think should be banned, limited, semi-limited, etc., right? That I think would be healthy for the state of the game. And then I have the prediction section, which is, all right, knowing that what I want, right? What will actually happen? What will Konami actually do? Knowing that Konami is a sleazy, craven, greedy company, right? What are they, who honestly is terrible at game design, right? Like, provenly terrible at game design, right? What changes do I actually expect them to make based on all those factors and the fact that, their history of dealing with ban lists? Right, so I'm not under any delusions. I know my wish list will likely not come true, although some of the stuff is obvious and will, right? Anyway, so let's get into it. Let's start with the unlimits, because I think the unlimits are the easiest part. So I believe, or I think that in my wish list, Engage, Pankratops, Harpor, where's the other one? And Terratops can all be unlimited. So why do I have? By the way, why do I have multiple images of each card at the bottom of this tier maker? Because I want to be able to put the same card into multiple categories, right? So anyway, these 4 cards all recently received an extra copy, like Engage, Pankratops, the Terratop all went to 2 relatively recently. Nothing changed. I think you don't really see those decks or those cards even show up, really. So I think they can just go to 1 or go to unlimited, right? Go to 3, right? Like a lot of times the Konami TCG has used the semi-limit list as kind of like a waiting room between a card going from unlimited to limited or possibly banned, or a card going from banned to limit to unlimited and to semi-limit, and then it's like a waiting room. It's like an intermediate mirror room, right? So yeah, these recently received extra copies. Nothing changed. I think they can just become unlimited. In fact, I would actually predict that Konami might do these changes, with the exception of Harpor. I actually predict them to semi-limited. The reason being because Harpor was recently put to 1, and I think that Konami is just going to do the thing where they're going to release 1 more copy, so they're going to semi-limit Harpor, and then and then we have to wait another list before it's unlimited. But yeah, Orcus is not really a deck that's been doing anything recently. So this is what I think will happen, right? So my wish list and my actual predictions. In terms of no, you also notice I do not have a semi-limit wish list because I don't actually wish for any cards to be semi-limited. I think the semi-limited list is kind of silly. I think cards should just be at 0, 1, or 3, with the only exception being probably Destiny Hero Malicious, just because it kind of makes sense for that card to be at 2. But honestly, like if they just unlimited it, I don't think Hero would be that broken, honestly. Although I guess you could argue that like other decks might abuse Malicious, and you might be right. Moving on, let's go to cards. Let me talk about cards that I think. Oh, sorry, I'm actually not done with my unlimited wish list. I would really like to see Gozen, Rivalry, and Tikaboo come back to 3. I know this is probably not going to happen because they literally just hit these cards. But the problem is that I mean, I'm still gonna say like what I think should happen, right? I thought these limits were all kind of silly because in the last format, no one was really running these cards, and in the current format, the only of these cards that are worthwhile is Rivalry. TCG and Gozen don't really do anything against the fire decks. Like they can be played around or easily outed. Rivalry can be, I would say the only the three decks I would use Rivalry if it was unlimited would be like Labyrinth, Kashtira, and Fluonaries, right? Just because they can use Rivalry, and Rivalry like shuts down Snake Eye. I mean, I run one copy of Rivalry in my I actually both my Master Duel and my TCG Labyrinth list, and it's like every time I see it, it's like it's such a good card. It's essentially a game. So, will I think Konami actually unlimit these? No, because they just limited them. But who knows? Crazier things have happened. Any other unlimit requests here from these cards? Not exactly. So let's go to cards that I think should not be touched. Right? People have been talking online about these cards, and I just remembered there's a card that I left off this list that I'm going to talk about that should not be touched. You can imagine what it is, but yeah, people be saying that Linkuriboh should be banned or limited, and I guess banned is most popular. Like, come on, folks, Linkuriboh, really? Linkuriboh just happens to be good in Snake Eyes, right? Because of the synergy with like all the level ones and stuff, right? But in all honesty, like Linkuriboh is not a problem card in isolation. Like it doesn't even exactly. Like if you ban Linkuriboh, the Snake Eyes deck pretty much does exactly what it already does. But instead of linking Linkuriboh, they might go into Relinquish Anima, right? It's like pointless. Like people unironically talking about banning Linkuriboh online are actually out of their minds. Like this card does not deserve to be on any ban list ever. Like come on, it's Linkuriboh, folks. What the fuck? Definitely gonna put that here in the do not touch. Skill drain, summon limits. I think should not be touched. The main reasons for this being that, I know, like, first of all, Skill Drain can be outed very easily and played around. Like, literally no decks run Skill Drain right now. So I know that in the OCG, they limited Skill Drain to 1, and it's possible that TCG follows suit. In fact, I would even put, if I had to, like, bet some amount of money, I could even see Konami like putting these to 1 just cause like they did the other 3 floodgates like in the previous ban list. So I could predict this. I don't know if they'll actually do it. Like I would actually put summon limit more likely to happen over Skill Drain and getting hit. But honestly, I think they should not be touched. These cards are not problematic. Like everyone's running Cosmic Cyclone, like Skill Drain, Summon Limit can be outed. It's just, there are ways to out it. Like Little Knight, it's just, I don't know. It just doesn't seem like a worthwhile hit. Other cards that I think should not be touched under any circumstances. D-Shifter. And I actually predict Konami is not going to touch this card at all. D-Shifter is great. It's one of the few cards that in the current format make certain decks playable against Snake Eyes because of how oppressive Snake Eyes are. And I get that, Snake Eyes is D-Shifter is one of those cards that like hits every Yu-Gi-Oh deck, quote unquote. But I mean, the decks that run them are already limiting themselves to not being able to use a graveyard anyway. And I was gonna say, they don't need the graveyard. It's like true, but then like those decks were never that oppressive or like amazing to begin with. You know what I'm saying? Like this, I feel like this card just puts those decks on like equal footing as to the other like graveyard decks. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I would also say do not touch Promethean Princess, or Flamberge. Yeah, I would put these 2 up here. Both Promethean Princess and Flamberge, honestly, are kind of cool card designs. I dig them. Promethean Princess is a kind of a boss like fire monster, like for the extra deck. I mean, it's not really a boss. Like, yeah, its attack is decent, but like the fact that it can recur itself from the graveyard on special summons, pop one of your cards, pop one of your opponent's cards. I think, and it pops a monster, right? It doesn't pop back row. I think it's very fair of a card. I would say do not touch Promethean Princess. I would say do not touch Flamberge. Flamberge is technically the boss one of the boss monsters of Snake Eyes, like the Snake Eyes archetype. And if you think about it, it's a pretty cool card. It looks cool. 3,000 attack, right? It has this unique interaction, which very few cards does, where you can target cards in the graveyard or field, or monsters in the graveyard or field, and then set them to the spell trap zone. So it's like a form of removal that's like very unique, right? It's like it doesn't destroy or banish. It puts it on the spell trap zone. And, using other shenanigans, like you could even summon those monsters back. I think that's a really cool thing. And it's a slow effect, right? It's not even, the slow effect is fine. And then the quick effect is like, on your opponent's turn, you can summon one of the monsters in the spell trap zones. I think that's a very cool thing to do. Like, people have been saying, it's too good of an extender because it's just 2 free bodies. Like, it's a +2 every turn, right? And yeah, I get that argument. And some people even went as far as compare Flamberge to Block Dragon. The problem with that absurd comparison is that Block Dragon is not once per turn. Flamberge is once per turn. So yeah, already like that, the argument is shut down. Block Dragon is an obnoxiously stupid card. Flamberge Dragon can be obnoxious, but I feel like this is not the main reason Snake Eyes is good. Plus, if you banish the Flamberge is right. Either through a Cosmic Cyclone hitting the Flamberge in the back row, or evenly match, you force them to banish one or more copies of Flamberge. Like they just end, right? And it's not even an Omnigate, right? It's just bodies for link summoning. That's all it is. Yeah, I don't think this is an oppressive card whatsoever. On that note, let's add Jet Synchron to this list. Jet Synchron has died too many times for the sins of other cards. Halki Firebrax was the problem card. Jet Synchron is not a problem card. I would argue that Original Sinful Spoils is the problem card, and we're going to get to Original Sinful Spoils very soon. But yeah, please leave Jet Synchron alone. It's a cool card. I think it's perfectly fair. I think it should stay at 1 because we don't want to abuse this too much, right? But yeah, just leave Jet Synchron alone. Leave Flamberge alone, even though some people were saying that like Flamberge is a problem card. I don't actually think it's a problem card. Some people say limit Flamberge. I mean, they would still have access to it. They would just have fewer, like, just having that the second copy just helps with a lot of like consistency issues, and also playing around Nibiru and like getting additional plays after Nibiru, stuff like that. So yeah, please don't touch Promethean, Jets, or this guy. On that note, I would actually say don't touch the Diabelistar. The Diabelistar monster itself is not. Like, of all the Sinful Spoils, like Snake Eyes related stuff, I think that the Diabelistar monster itself is probably one of the least problematic cards, right, of the package. Yeah, I mean, obviously it's a free quote unquote body. I mean, that's send a card to graveyard, but like, and then it's a searcher. But I mean, it's not that oppressive, I would say, of a card. It's a cool card. Like, it's another card like Flamberge. I think it's a cool card. The monster itself is not the problem. The monster is just like an engine for the other cards, right, which are more problematic. So I would say do not touch Diabelistar. Please don't touch Diabelistar. Moving on, cards that I think should be limited, and then what I think will actually be limited. I think Anti-Spell should be limited, and I do think that Konami might actually make it happen as part of prediction. I can actually see them limiting Anti-Spell here. One other card that I think they should not touch, Bonfire. I don't think Bonfire is that problematic of a card. It's a Rhoda for Pyros, and I get that. Rhoda is limited to 1, but Rhoda is not once per turn, folks. So, I mean, Bonfire is. So if they want to limit this to a single copy in the future, just so that you see it less often, I guess that's fine. I just don't think this is the most problematic card of the. I don't think this is the main reason. I mean, yeah, it's technically an extender, right? Because you can literally just like free special summon Poplar off this. But yeah, and I also don't see. So if they limit it to 1 in the future, I would not be opposed. I don't think it should be limited right now. And I don't actually foresee or predict Konami to limit this card because it's a new card, it's expensive, and they want to make some money off of the reprints, right? They want to reprint this card, get some more money out of it. So yeah, I would say do not touch it. Some people will say limit it. Honestly, I'd be okay with it being limited. I just don't think Konami's going to do it. All right, moving on. More limit related stuff. I think that Kieran should be limited. Yeah, Kieran is the more obnoxious of like the Fire King package is very obnoxious. Brunix is already at 1. Ponix, I'm pretty sure, is also at 1, maybe 2. Yeah, Kieran, I think, is the more annoying card, just because of like how easily you get access to popping stuff, right? And like all the recursion you can do with it. I think Kieran should be at 1. Would I predict them to actually limit Kieran? Would Konami actually do this? This is not a money card, so I could actually predict them limiting Kieran. This is not an unreasonable limit on their part. They're not losing that much money out of it, and I think the Fire King engine can still exist and thrive with Kieran at 1. It just will be less. It'll have less of a grind game, right? And I mean, Kieran's already searchable, right? But like the fact that it'll be harder for you to use it multiple times, like multiple copies of Kieran. So, which I think is what can get overwhelming, is like when they just like Kieran like all the time, right? So yeah, I'd like to see it banned or limited. I could actually see Konami limiting this. This is not a card that is generating them that much money or revenue. So I think this is fine. Other cards that limit. Actually, I'm gonna put Poplar here and do not touch. Poplar just came out. Poplar, yeah, is annoying. I agree. I don't think it's ban worthy or limit worthy yet, and I don't think Konami. I think Konami is going to want to take advantage of the reprintability, right? And I think they're going to want to keep Poplar at the way it is. So I'm going to put it in the do not touch list here. I want to see Fenrir limited. Fenrir at 3, I think is stupid. Especially because like Fenrir can literally search itself. Like that's so fucking stupid, in my opinion. It's already like a much better version of Pankratops. You can literally like, I don't know, see, Pankratops is a more fair card because you have to, you can't like Pankratops is not good going first, whereas Fenrir is good going first or second. Obviously, it's much better going second, right? And the fact that like it just gives so much easier access to like Baron de Fleur, like going first, right? You can literally special Fenrir on normal tuner, and then you have Baron de Fleur. It's so like a hand trap, like Ash, right? It's so stupid. I don't think this card should be as prevalent as it is. I think it should go to 1 so that Kashtira can still be a playable deck. And I think it would be a playable deck if this was at 1. Because they still have 3 bursts, they have 3 field spells, they have everything else in Kashtira is pretty much unlimited except for obviously Rise Heart, right? And I guess number 89, which is technically not a Kashtira card, but technically it is, right? Yeah, I think Kashtira should go to 1. Will they, or Kashtira Fenrir should go to 1? Will they? Do I predict them to actually do it? No, because I just don't think they have the guts to do it. Like I think there's too much reprint value and monetary value associated with Fenrir that they're not going to actually hit it to 1. Unfortunately, I kind of want to jump ahead to the bans a little bit because I think there are cards because when we're addressing this problem of the Snake Eyes archetype, right, and the Snake Eyes deck and Snake Eyes Fire King, I think they can fix most of these problems and this power level of the deck if they just ban original Sinful Spoils. Original Sinful Spoils is a stupidly broken card. It's so stupid. Like, it's very easy to search, and it has like this and it's like an extender, whether it's in the graveyard or in the hand. So it's like it has 2 effects, both of which allow it to extend. I don't know. I just think that's too much. Like, if it did not have its graveyard effect, I could maybe be okay with it. Maybe. But the fact that you can extend into any level 1 fire, which includes Jet Synchron or the Fire King, like if you ban original Sinful Spoils, I think that Pure Snake Eye will still be playable. It'll have 1 fewer extender, and you lose the bridge, right, between that enables other fire monster plays. So you lose the Fire King, right? Because like basically this is the bridge between the Snake Eye archetype, like / Sinful Spoil archetype, to other fire archetypes. Like Fire King Snake Eyes, I think would die if you kill original Sinful Spoil. And I'm okay with that because I think Fire King Snake Eyes is the more toxic version of or variant of this deck. Jet Synchron plays would be a lot less prevalent. If you ban original Sinful Spoils, I think you lose access to a lot of things, right? Obviously, Ash can still search a level 1 fire, but if you get a once per turn search on Ash, are you really gonna not get your Poplar? Are you really gonna go for like a Jet Synchron or a Ponix over your Poplar? I don't know. Maybe. Like, I just think that banning original Sinful Spoils will go a long way in fixing the Tier 0 format. Yeah, I think this card is just too stupid. And then on the subsequent turn, after they do this, get a search, an extension, they get to recycle their cards from the graveyard, which I think is just like, oh, come on, man. Like, yeah, so the whole recyclability of like the original Sinful Spoils and then like with Wanted and like the searchability off, like you're already searching this off Diabellstar, which is very easy to search, and then you're also recurring your monsters from your graveyard and like your cards into your deck. It's like, I don't know, I think it's too much. It's just way too generically good of a card. I think it should just be banned. Will they ban it? No, because they fucking suck. But I do think that they should be banned. Let's talk about Snake Eye Oak. So I actually low key can see them banning Snake Eye Oak. Do I think it should be banned? Probably. So it's kind of like a one or the other thing. I think if you ban original Sinful Spoil, you should not ban Oak. If you're not going to ban original Sinful Spoil, then I think banning Oak makes sense because, again, it's more extenders, and the fact that it recycles your Oak returns your level 1 your fire monsters from the banish pile, right? And that's like what kind of bugs me. It's like, let's say you banish the Snake Eye graveyard, like you banish some of those important cards that they need, like Poplar or whatever, right? Maybe they're on a D-shifter, they're D-fish or whatever. The fact that Oak can get those banished cards back, I think is kind of stupid. It's kind of like, it's too much. It's like, you're already a super graveyard heavy deck that's really good at utilizing the graveyard. But I think if you get shut down in the graveyard, or if your cards get banished from the graveyard, I think they should stay banished, right? Like, it's removal in Yu-Gi-Oh! Has become a joke, right? It's like the graveyard is no longer a graveyard. A graveyard is just your second hand at this point. And I think like if so then, okay, so if graveyard is your second hand, banishing is your actual removal. Cards that are banished are actually finally out of the game, right? They're finally gone. But then you just add all these cards that return stuff from the banish, and it's just like, oh, come on, man. Like, can we actually have a place that cards go where they're gone forever, right? Before it was called banishing, they used to call it remove from play, right? You wouldn't banish a card, you would remove the card from the game. That's what it used to be, right? And then they renamed it to banish, and now like cards come back from the banish pile, like entire archetypes like Flanderies get their cards from the banish pile. It's just like, all right, Snake Eyes is already so good at graveyard. It just thematically makes no sense for them to also be good at. Oh, they could also bring their cards back from the banish. It's like, no, fuck that. I think it's too much, right? So Oak of the Snake Eyes deck, which is the $1,000 deck or whatever. I think if you ban Oak, not only is that one fewer extender, right? But also it'll make it like a lot harder for them to recur their resources, right? And it's not one of the more expensive cards, so it's not like people are clamoring to like buy Oak. It's like Oak is the last I checked, a very cheap card relative to the rest of the deck. So they're not like losing out on money or like reprintability. So yeah, I can actually see them hitting Oak. If I had to predict it, like I can see that happening. It's not unreasonable. It's not outside the realm of possibility. And if they had a brain, which unfortunately Konami often doesn't, then they would do this. But honestly, I think original Sinful Spoil should actually be the card that's banned. Like I would be okay conceding you can keep Oak, but we got to get rid of original Sinful Spoils. It's too much. If you ban both, I would say that's not unreasonable. I would say that might be overkill, but I would be okay with banning both or one of these. But banning none of them, I think, is unreasonable. Like I think you got to ban one of these cards. All right, Snake Eye Ash, I think should be a do not touch but I can see them potentially limiting Ash to 1. I can see that. I think, again, I would be okay with Bonfire, Poplar, and Ash all at 3 if you got rid of Original Sinful Spoils and / or Oak. Keep Flamberge, keep your Princess, keep your Linkribo, keep your Ash, keep your Poplar, keep most of your keep your Bonfire, get rid of Original Sinful Spoil, get rid of Oak. I think this makes the deck, a lot more reasonable to deal with, a lot less resilient as well. So I can see them limiting Ash since it's not among the more expensive cards. Poplar and Bonfire are still the expensive cards, right? And in fact, like Ash can still search into Bonfire, into Oak, right? So now it's like, well, if you limit Ash, you're more likely to have to use Bonfire to go into Ash because you didn't hard draw Ash, right? And then Ash goes into Poplar, right? Whereas now it's like, you probably have Bonfire and Ash, and then you can like literally just do both things, right? So you can get the free special summon off Bonfire with the Poplar, right? So yeah, I could see them limiting Ash. Although I would prefer they kept Ash at 3 and they ban Original Sinful Spoil and Oak instead. That's me. Calamity. Can this card finally be banned, please? This card is just stupid in every respect of the world. And granted, I play Labyrinth. This card doesn't even do that much to Labyrinth. I'm gonna be real. So Calamity's been around for a while, right? I've known about this card. I've played against it for a while. It's never actually annoyed me that much as a Labyrinth player because again, I'm not activating cards on my turn. I'm just setting cards and then activating cards on your turn, right? So thanks, Calamity. You locked me out of activating cards on my turn. I mean, I guess the only thing you say, I can't use Lord, pot cards, Labyrinth, monster effects, or evenly matched, right? But all my other stuff, like more than half my deck, I can still use. So who cares, right? But as a card design, this card is way too fucking stupid. And they made it too easy to summon via like the Crimson Dragon line, right? That I think at this point it warrants a ban. Before it was hard to summon. Now it's like way too easy to summon. Like Manadium can do it. Centurion can do it. Like so many decks can summon this out like on your opponent's turn, essentially for free. And this card's on summon effect says you can't even respond to its effect. So it's like, okay, this is stupid. Please ban this card. I just don't want it to be a thing. Like I'm not even a combo player, and I can tell like this is like VFD levels of stupidity, right? Remember VFD, the card that everyone hated that what is it? Virtual World used to play? I would say Calamity is like worse than VFD. And yet VFD is banned and this card apparently is not, but it really should be. So that's my take on it. Other cards I would like to see banned. I would like to see Little Knight banned. I would like to see Runic Fountain at either ban or limited. Little Knight, what is a failure of a card design in every aspect of the word in terms of, I mean, it's not a failure in terms of like selling and making money. So Konami will absolutely not actually hit this card. Like Little Knight, yeah, they're gonna milk that shit for a very, 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 very long time. It's possible they never hit Little Knight, but I think Little Knight should be hit because it's too stupid of a card. It's too easy to summon, and its effects are just too good, right? It banishes cards from field or graveyard. Like, why the graveyard? Why not just the field, right? Why does it have to be any card? Why can't it just be a monster or an extra deck monster, right? It's just so overloaded. And then you also have your opponent activates card. You can banish another card. It's like once per turn. It's like, what the fuck? Like, it's just, plus like the whole restriction, if you only get the first banish if you summon it using a monster from the extra deck. Linkribo, IP, so many other, it's so easy to meet that condition. Like, even a fucking non-combo deck like Labyrinth can do it. Like, it's stupid, right? So, please ban SP Little Knight. Like, after I came back from my hiatus from Yu-Gi-Oh! And I read this card, I'm like, how the fuck did this card get printed? How did this get through design, like, testing, like, the entire corporate structure of Konami, like, people, like, signing off on releasing this card? It blows my mind how this card was released. I literally cannot fathom the amount of stupidity that had to be involved in releasing this card. Like everyone who released this card should be banned. Everyone who was involved in the design, the making, approval of this card should be fired. Like and just blacklisted from the gaming industry and never hired ever again. It's where it's and then like the price point on it is just like, and then they release it at like the highest rarity or whatever. And then you have like $150, $180 card, whatever. That's like a mandatory. Like they literally made this card mandatory for every deck. Even Labyrinth plays this fucking card. Like it's mandatory in every deck now. And it's just unbelievable how this card exists, right? Please ban it. I know they're not going to, but it's just better for the health of the game if this card did not exist. Like, oh, people say, oh, it's a generic toolbox card that you can use going second to out your stuff on your opponent. It's a generically good card for going first, actually. So going first, it's amazing, too. So that's not a good argument, right? You know that other card, Typhon? Remember Zeus, right? Those are going second cards, and I don't think those cards should be hit up. I think Zeus and Typhon are fairly reasonable cards. This card is not a reasonable card. This card absolutely needs to get banned. I put Runic Fountain on my wish list for bans or limits. I don't think Konami is going to hit Runic Fountain yet because Runic is not really in the format. But they randomly semi-limited to 2 for no fucking reason when they should have limited it. Yeah, I want to see this archetype mostly dead. Like I don't want to see Runic Fountain anymore. It's toxic, super toxic card. Yeah, I'll be happy with it at 1 or 0. But it'll make Runic, because inevitably when the tier 0 format ends, Runic will come back. It's inevitable that Runic will come back once you hit Snake Eyes and the tier 0 format ends. When it comes back, I want it to be a dead deck or significantly weaker or just not viable. So please preemptively ban or limit this card for the love of God. Like, please, you put it to 2. Semi-limit list is stupid. Just put it to 1 or 0. That's all I ask. I know they're not actually going to do it this ban list, but they should. There's no reason not to. All right, let's talk about other cards. So one thing that I thought was funny. Let's do Sanctified Dragon. Yeah, Sanctified Dragon. Could probably ban just because again, we banned the trap card that allows them to summon Gimmick Puppet. Branded to summon the Gimmick Puppet. Obviously that trap card was ban worthy. This card should also be ban worthy because it does the same thing, but in monster form. I guess it's a little bit more fair because you can imperm it and to stop it, which is easier than the trap card, which you can deal with. But yeah, just ban this card, and I can actually see Konami doing it. Yeah, moving on. So there's a few cards left I haven't touched on. So I have an Appaloosa here, a Baron de Fleur, and a Wanted. Let's talk about Wanted. I actually think, I can see them limiting Wanted. I can see it happening. I think if they ban original Sinful Spoil, they don't need to limit Wanted. I'm going to put Wanted in both my wish list and prediction. Even though, again, I think if they ban original Sinful Spoils, I think they can leave Wanted alone. But since I preemptively think they're not going to ban original Sinful Spoils, even though they should, I'm going to go ahead and put Wanted to 1 as well. It's not even because of the search aspect of it. It's more because of the whole recycle shit from the graveyard aspect of it. It's like, can we please stop having recycle? It's like every new card that comes out has a second or third effect that's like, oh, banish this card, put a card from your graveyard at the bottom of your deck, and then draw a card. Stop. Just please stop with that. No more drawing cards, okay? Not every card in their mother wants to draw cards. Stop. Just stop doing this, right? Yeah, if it didn't have this effect, the recursion, because again, this card can literally get your original Sinful Spoils back into your deck, right? It can get a lot of cards back into your deck. If it didn't have that effect, I'd be perfectly okay with it at 3 at all times. I would probably be okay with it at 3 as is, assuming they ban original Sinful Spoils, but since they're not going to, just limit this card. Fuck it. Yeah, just limit it. All right, let's talk about Appaloosa and Baron de Fleur. Why do I even have these on these lists? I've never talked about these cards in the past on any ban list prediction video. Why am I talking about them now? So I've been watching other Yu-Gi YouTubers do their ban list predictions. Joshua Smith, was it Farfa? The usual suspects of Yu-Gi YouTubers. And I noticed that yeah, a lot of them have been talking about Barone and Appaloosa as potential targets for banning. Now, I kind of okay from a game design perspective. I think Barone de Fleur and less so Appaloosa are just abominations of card design. Like Baron de Fleur is easier to summon than Crystal Wing Synchro Dragon, and it's strictly better than Crystal Wing Synchro Dragon. Baron is easier to summon than Red Eyes Dark Dragoon, and it's like a diet version of Red Eyes Dark Dragoon, right? This card is just stupid, right? It's just so bad, like in so many ways. It's like it's better than the boss monsters of most archetypes. The fact that we have entire deck engines, Super Heavy Samurai, even like Kashtira, right? Like so many decks that just go into this card basically for free, right? Because level 7s are like free now thanks to Diabellstar, and the Kashtiras, and then like all your hand traps happen to be level 3 tuners. What a coincidence! And then you can just normal summon them and then make Baron de Fleur for free. Like I think that has to stop. Like it's gone too far. The fact that like Baron is better than Changing, right? Baron is better than most Synchro 10s and most boss monsters, I think is a problem. Like the Yu-Gi-Oh! Extra deck has devolved into like this absurd like toolbox of like, oh, nothing in your main deck matters anymore. All like the entire purpose of your main deck is to go into your extra deck and do stuff through there. It's like I don't like that philosophy of game design. I mean, the reason they did that is because they want the extra deck to be like this accessible toolbox that you can have these monsters at any point in time. You don't need RNG, be damned, right? But the problem is that it's gone too far, right? And yeah, there are a lot of decks recently that have main deck monsters. I think I appreciate that Philanderies relies on main deck monsters. Labyrinth relies on main deck monsters, right? And yeah, Labyrinth does use a toolbox of extra deck monsters, but the extra deck monsters themselves aren't better than your actual archetype monsters. The fact that a super heavy samurai deck is not even a super heavy samurai deck because, again, the end board of super heavy samurai does not include a single super heavy samurai card, right? And that I think that's bonkers. Same with Manadium. What the fuck? Why do they even call it a Manadium deck? Why don't they just call it a Visa Star, like a Visa Star Frost or like Synchro Turbo or Baron Turbo deck? Because Manadium doesn't end on any Manadium cards. Maybe they end on reframing sometimes, but they don't actually end on Manadium cards. So why do they call it a Manadium deck? Why do they call it a Super Heavy Samurai deck? They don't end on Super Heavy Samurais, right? Snake Eyes. Some Snake Eye that can run to Baron and they go into Baron. Again, it's just I'm gonna put Baron here on both my ban wish list and ban prediction. Prediction because I can realistically see Baron being banned by Konami. Only because A, it's no longer an expensive card thanks to the rarity collection, super super cheap, right? And B, it's like how many formats do we have to go through where decks are just the whole Turbo Baron scenario is just like prevalent in every archetype you release. It's like, Konami, aren't you sick of coming up with all these cool archetypes and then the end board just looks exactly the same as the previous deck you came up with? Like, I don't get it. Like, it just seems silly to me, right? So I think Baron should be banned. Also, Baron stops Nibiru. I don't mind having counterplayed Nibiru or like cards that can stop Nibiru. I just think it's too easy to get Baron out. It's way too easy. Like you can do it within 5 summons so easily. It's like I don't know. I think it's too much. Also, there's the whole new interaction thanks to Little Knight. If you Little Knight banish your own Baron and Little Knight and then they come back at the end phase, Baron's negate is refreshed. So it's like, that once per face up negate is now once per turn effectively. That's not good for the game. So yeah, no longer an expensive card. It's seen too much play already. Just ban it. Let's get rid of it. On that note, Appaloosa, I'm going to put on the do not touch list. So why is Appaloosa a do not touch, but Baron is a ban worthy card? A few reasons. One, Appaloosa can only negate monster effects and only one per chain. Number one. Number two, Appaloosa's negate ability is directly dependent on its attack value. So if you Veiler Appaloosa or you Ghost Ogre it or you Karma Cannon it, or you just attack into it, run it over, right? It no longer has the negate. The negate, like all its negates are gone, right? Yeah, it is a counter to Nibiru, but to get Appaloosa by your 5th summon, you need to put all 4 materials as your first 4 summons, and your 5th summon is Appaloosa exactly. If you have to link climb, if you have to make other monsters, intermediate monsters on the way up to getting Appaloosa, then you can still get Nibiru. Do you see what I'm saying? It just feels like a way fairer trade-off, right? Again, I play Labyrinth, so Appaloosa is a joke card. It does nothing to me, right? But just as a from a game design perspective, it's like, is this card actually healthy for the game? It's not super unhealthy. I think it's like right at the edge of like between the healthy and unhealthy. That I think I'm okay keeping it. Like, I think if you ban Barone and keep Appaloosa, I think that's fair. I think that's a fair trade-off. Because there's just way more ways to counterplay against Appaloosa. Also, she doesn't. Again, no Omni negates, just monster negates. So you have a blowout, you have a evenly matched. She can't do anything, right? She have even a Raigeki, right? Can just take her out. So yeah, let's keep Appaloosa as is. Also, we're having a rarity collection 2 set coming out soon, which is going to be reprints of a bunch of other staple cards in various rarities. And they're planning to release quarter century rare Appaloosa, which makes me believe that they're not. I'm pretty sure this is what I've heard, right? So knowing that they're going to do that, I don't think they would touch Appaloosa. If they did, I would not cry a single tear for Appaloosa. If they banned Appaloosa, I'd be like, oh, okay, cool. Yu-Gi-Oh is probably better off overall, but yeah, I'm not super gung-ho about banning Appaloosa as much as Brone, because Brone is just way more problematic. Like, Appaloosa doesn't really replace your archetype's boss monsters, right? Appaloosa is more of all right, I got my boss monster, now I'm also going to put up 2, 3, maybe 4 negates, right? Which I think is a lot more reasonable, right? So yeah, that's those are all the cards. There's some duplicates down here just because they just didn't go on the list twice. So yeah, this is a lot of cards that I think should be dealt with. Ban lists are typically not this big, although they really should be. Like, Master Duel has a ban list every month, so the lists are small. I mean, if we're gonna get ban lists in TCG every 3-4 months, I think they should be a lot bigger, especially when it's like a tier 0 format. Like, remember when we were in the tier limit tier 0 format, and we had that February ban list last year that completely gutted tier limit? It was a lot of bans and limits, and I think they should do something similar here, because like they need to address this tier 0 problem, in my opinion. So that's my prediction list. Let me know what you think in the comment section. Oh, one more card I forgot to mention that should be in the do not touch. Colossus, Thunder Dragon Colossus. People have been calling for Thunder Dragon Colossus to come back forever. Those people are insane. Colossus is a stupid card. Literally, it's a splashable engine. It's a 2-card splashable engine, right? Nemesis Corridor plus Colossus in any deck. Like, but that's Corridor in any deck just makes a Colossus, right? Theoretically. I don't like that. It's that easily of a splashable floodgate that cannot easily be destroyed, right? Because it also has like destruction protection. Not good for the game. So let's not touch Colossus. Yeah, so I forgot to put Colossus on here just because like there hasn't been that much talk about it, but just like, every ban list discussion, like there's always some whispers about bringing back Colossus, but those are always dumb. Yeah, if you think anything alarming or jarring is missing from this list, please let me know. But yeah, I think that like, even if they did half of these, right, I think they would significantly improve the state of the game. Like, they don't have to do all, they just do half of these. And I think the game would be a lot better. So, all right, thanks for watching. See you in the next video. Hope you learned something, and hope you discuss the ban list in the comments below. All right, later. Peace.